Sure, you'll stream with your audience. Click this button. Oh, yeah. Good for it. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. What, Archie? What? We're gonna go live. Wait for people to get in here. We'll start a live stream. See if people are actually here. Don't know if they will be. They might be. Yo, good morning. How you guys doing? Look at that, Archie. People are here right away. Right away. I know. They're here right away. They're asking questions right away. Right away. There we go. All right, everyone, just calm down. Slow down with the questions. Hopefully, you guys can hear me good. And let's wait. Give it a couple minutes. Let people flow in. Okay, is my volume good? I don't test these things beforehand. I'm much too busy. Audio great, perfect. I've literally been cleaning tanks nonstop this morning. But don't worry, I'll answer all the questions. If you want to make a list of questions, we'll be here for at least an hour, like normal, at least an hour, and we'll go through stuff, so don't worry. Hey, can I ask you one question real quick? I guess, but other people may have that question. But if it's something you want to ask right away, sure. What's this heart thing here, Archie? 100. What's that do? Oh, it like pops up. Oh, it's like Pop Shop. Fascinating. Ooh, what's this? Okay, what does that do, Archie? It doesn't do anything. Is there an age when beardies stop? No. Reptiles will shed their whole life. It will just slow down as they get older. All reptiles. What causes fat tail on tegus? Okay, just wait, just wait, just a couple minutes, then you guys can ask your questions. We'll go over all of it, just so people are here and they can hear the answers, and maybe they won't ask the same question because I get asked a lot. I typically give people 5, 6, rough minutes after I go live. People join on it, the notification goes out, people come in, but if you guys can, please like the stream. That way you can share it within the reptile world while you're in here. I've been waiting 20 minutes before you're live. That's what I like to see. That's commitment right there. That's commitment right there. It's good. Just in the beginning, normally we just hang out, say hi, how's it going, and then we'll move right into the reptile stuff. We want to see tortellini. We can probably make that happen. Here's the thing, low key before we get out here. Tortellini, if I'm holding him for too long, he tries to show dominance as a male, puts out his really big private part. It's like 10 inches long. It looks really weird, and it doesn't look really good for on camera. I don't want to get banned off of YouTube live streams asking these questions. So maybe he can make a small appearance. If he was on the ground, just walking around, all good. But holding him, I got to do it in very short bursts. Very short. Oh, gosh. She's here. Who you have? I have Archimedes now. So I pushed this instead of starting at 9 to 9:15. We'll see how it goes, but maybe if you don't know, the last Saturday of the month, I like to do a live stream, answer questions. but my reptiles really start waking up around this time, so maybe we'll start it at 9:30 Eastern time going forward, maybe so they can be a little bit more awake, things like that. This year has been very busy for me about Halloween since we get to normally on Instagram in the month of October, I do a daily I do a daily post of my reptiles and Halloween costumes leading up to Halloween with a group shot. This year there was just no chance. I had a lot of stuff going on in my backyard and stuff with family and things like that. It was just so busy, which is really unfortunate. But there still will be an Instagram post, pictures with a Halloween shot coming up on Halloween Day, and there'll be a Halloween themed episode. I just wasn't able to do the daily uploads of costume photographs. It's just too hard doing it on my own this year, which is really unfortunate. But if you do have a reptile, normally Petco PetSmart at the end of October, basically, any of these costumes that they had for like 10, 12 bucks, things like that, they normally clearance them out for $1 each. It's a good time to stock up for next year. 6:30 on the West Coast. That's Iris. That's devotion right there. I'll click this little heart thing for you. Boom. There we go. I need to go get roaches. No, you need to raise roaches. Oh, I like that. The got the West Coast. We got the South Coast. All we need is some North Coast. We'll give it like 2, 3 more minutes. Then we'll go. But I do see 12 people in here, and I don't see 12 likes on the stream. So please like the stream. That way, it will get shared out. We'll give it like 3 more minutes, and then I'll hit your guys' questions. Thank you. Thank you. We'll get your questions. We'll go through kind of the normal thing of the stream. I to be honest, guys, I do like the beginning where I just get to hang out with you guys, where it's not just all pure reptile based stuff. Like the 10 minutes in the beginning of kind of just chill. It's really nice. Just looking at my tortoise right now, trying to climb up the dock and just failing because Big Bertha's trying to go up the side. Just what am I watching? Just like looking at this, like where did I go wrong in life? Like she could just go around and up the dock since the ramp is submerged underwater, but she's like trying to start at the high point. What on earth am I watching? I can't. There's no words. Why do I get to see this? Believe me, it took 2 years. Like, love it when you do live. I do like doing the live chats. That's why I'm really trying to commit to one a month on the last Saturday. With comments, there's just so many. I get thousands of comments a day. People are asking questions, and it's hard to answer. And also, sometimes your answer may lead to follow-up questions that you can't address, and stuff just gets buried. It was much easier when the channel was much smaller because I could address everyone. I could reply to all the comments, and just can't do. Just it's too hard now. It's out of control. But we'll give it 2 more minutes till 9:25, and then that gave it the 10 minutes times for people to enter. We'll hit everything up. We'll be really good, and we'll start. We'll just bust through reptiles that you guys want to see. We'll bust through questions that you guys may have. We'll get it all addressed. Follow up. You don't have to ask questions on the reptile that I have out with me during that time. You can ask about any of the reptiles I have or things like that. You can ask to see stuff, and I'll see if I can make it happen. If I do have a reptile out that you're going to ask questions about, it's kind of nice because if it is something that you need to see, then you'll be able to see it, obviously, because I'll have it out. which is nice. I can put her next to the camera or anything like this, but we can rotate through. But when I put a reptile away, I'm probably not going to be taking that same one out because I don't want to just annoy them with, back in. I like to have them out, keep them out. And when I put them in, keep them in for a long time. Good morning. Good morning. We're probably good to get started, which is really good. So if you have questions, especially for reptiles now, you guys can just start spitting them in chat. And I also got questions that I want to answer from a bunch of comments that I wrote down a list of questions to kind of go over because maybe you guys have had them. And if when we're answering questions, if you hear something, it triggers something, or you have a follow-up question, we're all good. So you can ask away now. We can answer. And I think there was a couple questions asked like at the very beginning that we can hit. How long can bearded? Okay, yeah. Perfect. I did talk roughly about, okay, and then there's the fat tail. Okay, so we'll kind of start. Yeah. So I'm holding Archimedes, my bearded dragon, just if anyone wants to go, but we'll get from that. So the first one was, how long can bearded dragons go without eating? That's a really good question, and unfortunately, there's a lot of variables in it. But I think I'll address kind of the more basic scenario and then the extremes that can happen. But remember, with reptiles, they are really good at controlling their metabolism and their body functions with heat, times of years, etc. So if a reptile, and assuming the reptile is healthy to begin with, they can go long times without eating and still stay very healthy, especially if they go to a cooler side in their tank. Some bearded dragons have gone, as pets, we've documented 8 months and things like that. And they've lost very little weight because they've shut their metabolism down. Normally, bearded dragons will do brumation every year. They can go 6-7 months without eating. In the wild, they've gone longer, but also when we say without eating, sometimes they've eaten a little piece of a leaf and things like that, but not a full meal. So with reptiles, it's pretty crazy since they're being cold-blooded. Not like us where we're always digesting calories. They can really almost shut that process off completely, which is really cool. So if your bearded dragon is in brumation, or you're worried because your bearded dragon's not brumating, but it looks healthy, but it's not eating, as long as you keep offering it food and during non-brumation times, and then you're weighing your bearded dragon. If you don't see a drastic weight loss, but yet they're not eating, it's okay. You're going to look for that drastic weight loss to be occurring and then know, okay, something is wrong because they're not eating and they're losing weight. So they haven't shut down that metabolism. Could be impaction, an illness that's preventing them from wanting to eat and things like that. But if weight is maintaining or going down extremely slow, then you just wait for the bearded dragon to want to eat again, which is really good. And then people had asked about fat tails on tegus. A lot of lizards will store fat in their tails. And so a lot of people will tell you, hey, if your lizard has a fat tail, then they'll sometimes give you a circumference. It's a sign that they're too fat and things like that. It's not always the case. There's a lot of variables, especially if it's a male lizard and it has 2 hemipenes in the base of its tail. There's just so much. I would need to know a little bit more specifically about the age of the reptile and things like that. And also some reptiles' tails just get big. But also, like with humans, guys, reptiles can store fat in a lot of different places. So sometimes you'll see some overweight bearded dragons, not dehydrated, have more sunken in fat pads on their head. Yet, from a weight dimension, they are obese or just perfect. So we do have, but sometimes you see humans that have really fat stomachs or really fat legs because that's where they carry most of their fat. It's in the genetics of the lizard. So yeah, we do know that there are certain areas, fat pads on the head, fat pads in the abdomen, fat pads in the base of the tail. We do know that lizards typically store fat for those times that they're not eating in certain places in their body, but we don't really have down why certain lizards tend to primarily put fat here. And if you can't even go down to a species thing, because with bearded dragons, they, even the same subspecies of bearded dragon, they can still, male and female and female can store fat in different parts of their body. It's, so we don't really know. I assume it's a genetics thing. I would assume most lizards don't want to store fat in their stomach because they want their stomach to be off the ground when they run. But some lizards store majority of their fat in their stomach. So I don't know if we'll ever know, other than just the genetics of that particular lizard said you're going to store fats here. Pretty much it. That's what I think. So let's see what we got here. Who are you holding again? If anyone's seen it, I'm holding Archimedes, bearded dragon, normal. When clearing out a male dragon's femoral pores, should you clear it all out and leave that hole there, or just clear a little so that's, so normally if you're going through the process of and you have to because you have an impacted femoral pore, maybe stuck shed got over it so it couldn't move, the oily waxy substance inside the femoral pore is what male and females, but males are larger, it's on their inner thighs, guys, and if you don't know, that's the oil that's how they spread their scents. They rub their thighs everywhere and it secretes this oil. Think of it like earwax. But what can happen is it can oxidize, the pore can get clogged, so think like an ingrown hair, right? A pimple, and the oil doesn't come out, and then it gets hard, but that oil on the inside will continue to build up, so it'll actually start to become a lump, and it can become a big issue where they have to go in there with surgery and cut it open to drain it out. Now, when you go to squeeze a pore, you soak them in warm water for a long time, it softens it, and then you kind of pop it like a pimple from the bottom out. If it's not impacted badly, it doesn't really hurt the dragon, which is really nice. It's very little to no pain if it's not, especially if it's not infected. Now, when you're cleaning the pore, though, this is what the problem was, and a lot of people said, "Don't ever clear these pores." And man, they would get impacted and they would be bad because two things would happen. People would do them wrong. They would do them wrong two ways. One is like a pimple. If you don't squeeze it from the base out, you could actually, if you're squeezing it from the middle or the top, you could actually force that oil deeper, which is bad. Or two, you can clear it out too much, where then the sac is completely empty. You normally don't want to do that because if the sac is completely empty, it can get infected because dirt and debris can now enter that sac and cause an infection. So if you ever do clear it out all the way, it's very important that your bearded dragon is in a clean environment. You put some betadine over that to make sure it doesn't get infected, things like that. You want to pop it and do it until the color of the wax that's coming out is like white and it's really soft, and that you normally don't have to squeeze a lot for that. And then you leave the rest of that oil in there, and that's natural, and the bearded dragon can push that oil out when they need. Sometimes there's not a lot, and it's just the impacted thing, and it all comes out, and you have an empty hole with an empty sac, like an abscess. You just got to keep the environment clean and keep his pores clean until that fills up with oil. Great question, though. But so those are the two things people would do wrong, which would lead to infections in there, which then led to this big, really big problem for the longest time of people saying, never touch these. Let them fill up, let them get infected, or bring them to a vet who will pop them for you. But if you know what you're doing, you can do it. I was going to get a 5-month-old Beardy with a tank and everything, but they canceled on me, and I was going to get it for free. Yeah, reptiles are all over the place, especially if you're buying from a reptile that someone owned as a pet or someone's looking to get rid of. They can either be free, extremely cheap, or extremely overpriced, which is really weird. But you'll a lot of the time see on Craigslist or any of these sites that people are trying to get rid of their pets because they can't take care of it anymore. People want to sell them for double or triple the cost of what getting a young, healthy baby from a pet store would cost. It's very odd. I know people have felt like they probably want to recoup some money, right? I've had this thing for a couple years. I've paid electricity for its lights. I've been feeding it. I want to get something out of it. It's unfortunate. That's not really how it works. Okay. If something is burdening you now, you really shouldn't then be trying to charge, especially charge more to relieve the burden from yourself. Just getting rid of that's going to relieve the burden. So people pull back on offers a lot, or then also with pets, people are like, yeah, I want to get rid of it. And then it gets close to the day and they're like, oh, I know this bearded dragon was my kid's, but, and I said I didn't want to take care of it, but I will miss it if it's gone, right? You don't miss it until it's gone, right? That's what always happens. How do you survive through beardy brumation? Well, so I have six bearded dragons. One, Archie, is my only pet that I had since a hatchling. Everyone else is a rescue. They don't all brumate at the same time, so that's a nice thing. Some of them don't brumate at all. Okay. Some of them brumate for long times. So I have this big fluctuating scale, but then I also have all my other reptiles. So to be honest, bearded dragon brumation, I typically, well, in reptile brumation in general, because tegus brumate, things like that. The winter time when some of the reptiles either brumate or become super less active, it does lessen the workload for me quite a bit, and it's nice. So in the beginning, super nice. Near the end, I'm kind of like, oh, I miss petting you, I miss feeding you, and then they wake up, and it's like, yay, and then it starts to drag on, right? So the beginning of the things are really good. You do so much better work than any. Preston, it's the vets. There are some really good reptile vets, but if you're not handling reptiles every day as right a rep to be a reptile vet, the vet took a small certification, and now they have to pay thousands of dollars every year, at least in the U.S., to renew that certification to be able to legally prescribe and diagnose reptiles. And so, one, if the market in your area is not big enough, you're not going to do that research, and you're not going to pay thousands of dollars a year to re-get your license to work on reptiles. And then even if you have that, there's so many reptile species that it is just hard. If I was a vet though, or I could give a vet an advice, I would tell someone to get that certification and really focus on bearded dragons. They're the number one lizard, and you could do snakes too. And I think you would make good money in your vet practice, because we've already seen it with like bird vets, which is again another certification that you have to do on the side and re-up that. But a lot of people have birds now. A lot of people have reptiles. So even if you're really focusing on the basic reptiles, bearded dragon, ball pythons, you can become really good in that trade and be known for that. And people will drive an hour, 2 hours to go to a specialty vet, as long as the specialty vet is really good. So you could really focus, learn, and do that. And I think I really know, depending on your area, that you would make money. If you live in the middle of nowhere where no one has reptiles and people just have livestock on farms, probably not worth it. But you live in a metro developed area, people have bearded dragons, probably hundreds of people. Easy. But it's a different type of study. So then you have to study, dogs, cats, the mammals, and then the reptile. And I get it. You could also be overworked. So sometimes people, it's like when you go to a doctor, you have the general practitioner, but if I have a foot problem, maybe I want to go to the podiatrist. So it's probably hard if you were just to be a reptile vet only, depending on where you were. And so it might be too hard for them to really be good at everything, right? Like, good at everything, master of nothing. Probably don't want to be that. How is it going with your iguana, Charmander? Yeah, so Charmander is my red iguana. Link is my quince monitor. Both are doing really well. Link, I get to hold every day now. He's no longer scared. I pet him. Charmander we're getting there. I think and I hope Charmander is going to be female. That's really the hope for the size and the aggression, because Charmander's a green iguana. If you don't know, these colored iguanas, red, blue, green, albino, super red, all these morphs, they're all morphs of green iguanas. And green iguanas can sometimes be temperamental if you don't work with them a lot, the males, but you can neuter them to bring their aggression down. really you can neuter all male lizards, even bearded dragons, and sometimes if you have a really aggressive lizard, that will bring the aggression way down. So Charmander is going really good with lizards, guys, especially lizards that grow long tails. And I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention this again. I'll mention this always. They are normally skittish when they are small. Almost all lizards, the smaller they are, they can be really skittish. And people will be like, oh, I'm trying to hand tame or start training, but my lizard just runs from me. A lot of that has to do with the size. Simba, when he was small, hated me, wanted to kill me, was so scared of me because he was small and I was huge. As your lizard gets bigger, their brain also gets bigger, so they start to become smarter and things like that. But two, they also have larger size, so they start to get more confidence. And so people normally say, hey, start training them right away when they're babies. A lot of that is not retained, unfortunately. Like an infant, a newborn child, you're not going to be able to teach it to read a dictionary when it's 3 weeks old. And starting that young is not going to do anything. They have to get to a certain level, a certain age. It's different for all reptiles because reptiles, their lifespans are different and their maximum size is different. They have to get to a certain age where they can really start to process and understand. Normally, it's not done by age, though. It's done by size. Because, again, size of the brain, things like that, they feel bigger. So if you have a reptile that grows a long tail, that process normally is longer. Because before that reptile really starts to bulk up, they really grow in length first. So they're still small, but they have this super long tail, right? Charmander is still small, bigger than when I got him, body-wise, but not by much. But that tail is long. That tail is almost like 2 feet. And now his body is growing, and that's the brain and everything. So bearded dragons, savanna monitors, they have a shorter tail, Ackie monitors, things like that. Their tail, they get to kind of their length and everything a little bit quicker because of that. So they can be worked with and tamed down much quicker than other reptiles that grow longer. They got to get most of that length out of them before they start growing in mass. And that mass growth is what gives them that confidence to be around you. Can a reptile get roundworms from a dirty mouse? I would assume if the dirty mouse had roundworms, potentially. It's kind of interesting how reptiles get worms and parasites. It if you But that's typically why if you're feeding mice, you don't want to feed live mice. You want to freeze them because that typically kills any type of parasites or things like that. If you're coming from a breeder, not all reptiles their intestines are good enough to kill parasites sometimes when they eat them, especially if your reptile is lazy and eats something and then it doesn't bask right away. And remember, it really needs that heat to help with the digestion. Yeah, they have stomach acids, but they really need that heat to get it. So sometimes that stuff can fester. You can actually get parasites too from greens. So it's important you wash your greens, but like with bearded dragons, they don't do super high basking spot. If you feed dirty greens, you can get parasites. But normally, especially worms and things like that, over the counter dewormer you can get. It's really easy to treat them. If you really want to do it, you can do your own fecals. Very easy to do with a microscope and a fecal test kit. Very easy. I check fecals either every quarter or every half year. And if the poop smells, typically it's loaded with bad bacteria. Not always parasites, though, just bad bacteria. And you can confirm that. And then normally you can counter that with the probiotic. Reptile probiotic, really easy. You keep it in your fridge. It's a powder. Put it on your greens, put it on your bugs, feed your reptile. And then when you do your slides, you can confirm your probiotic is good because you will see just a ton of microbacteria in the fecal sample, which is really cool. So sometimes, too, if you do a fecal sample and you see like no microbacteria, you guys lacking some probiotics there. No Flintstone vitamins, but get them some vitamins. How's it going, man? Appreciate your videos. They teach me a lot. Hey, Sheev, thank you. I make this channel not to make money. I make this channel to teach, educate, answer questions, help. It's the whole reason why it's here. But thank you. If you haven't liked the stream, please like the stream. So hopefully we can share it and people will see it who are looking for reptiles. And with all the likes, we'll get there. Double Dragon Hotel, thank you so much. Double Dragon, $10 donation. Thank you so much. You've supported this channel since the very beginning. In more ways than you know, with your support has helped me get through. And guys, if you don't know, Double Dragon Hotel has also a reptile channel on YouTube. Really good videos. She's kind of like me. We don't always make the funny, manic running around videos, but if you're looking for good advice on how to care for and how to fix things, that's kind of what our channels are. Yeah, I don't run around and do 50 feeding videos, although YouTube Shorts have helped me do a little shorter, funnier how-tos. But I'm just trying to help people who want to have reptiles, things like that. I want to get a bearded dragon, but I don't know what age. So the cool thing with bearded dragons are you can really get them to be your friend at any age, as I've shown. I've taken bearded dragons in their teens, and they've bonded with me within a month or two. They're a good animal that can bond. But brilliant side one. The only thing you risk of getting an older bearded dragon, if you don't know the keeper, you don't know how well they were cared for. You don't know if they've had health problems, if they currently have a health problem, if they were given the right supplements, if they were given the right lighting. So you run the risk of getting either an unhealthy dragon or a dragon that's lifespan maybe has been cut short because of the poor way it was raised. And because of that, you just don't want to be down. So you're kind of rolling the dice. If you're buying from a breeder or from a reptile show, there's some things that can happen. Normally, you get to see the parents because bearded dragons look different as babies than they do when they're adults. So you get to see the parents. You can normally ask how old the parents are. If you get, oh yeah, these are the pair. This is from this clutch, and the mom and dad are 17 and 18 years old. That's good genes. That's good genes that got passed down. So, you get the ability to ask that because you're buying typically from the person who's breeding there. So just good things to always keep in mind. I'm missing some people. We got to go up a little bit. I have 4 bearded dragons. 2 are 4 months, and a year-old and a 3-year-old. How can I get my 1-year-old to eat vegetables? I've tried to trick her, but she's too smart. So the veggie move, which you need to do, you can once make sure you start feeding bugs way less because the dragon is not going to die of starvation. So the dragon will go for greens. But sometimes I've shown they don't know that greens are there. So you can try putting bee pollen on there. You can try putting the bugs on the food. And then, when they go to grab a bug, they grab the green. But the other thing is if you feed a bug, I've shown this before, where the bearded dragon's chomping with its mouth open, you get some greens ready, and as it's chewing the bug, boom, the green goes right in, and then it chews the green, right? I've shown that in some of my videos. And then it's eating the green. You do that a couple times, and it associates the green as food, especially if you do it with a little bee pollen on it, because bee pollen smells and tastes like bugs, because it's bug poop. And boom, 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 or I guess throw up is more accurate. How do you deal with reptile puberty? Okay, so I've talked about reptile puberty before, especially in males, and it's the same thing you see with typically male dogs. So if you don't get your reptile neutered, most of the time no one does, before they hit puberty, the males are now going to get a rush of testosterone, and potentially they can become aggressive, but it's for a short time when their hormones are fluctuating, and that will die back down. You really deal with it with time. That's the only thing. Once their hormones level out, they'll go back to the puppy dog that they were. As long as you don't let them dominate you during that time, you still have to kind of keep, that you're the head dog. Don't let them hump you, because reptiles will do that. What do you think, Archie? I'm fostering an iguana from SPCA. Sweet. I'm a vet tech. Our iguanas are housed together, and he was underweight, so the vet sent him home with me. Any foods I should focus on? So when you say an iguana sheave, I'm going to assume you mean a green iguana, not a rhino or marine or anything. If he's, you know, sometimes they'll eat bugs as treats that can give him a little bit more fatty. But if he'll eat squashes, great. That will help really boost him up quite a bit. Should I pull the shed off my beardy? So you normally don't pull shed off. You pull skin that's already shed and it's kind of just sitting there and is detached. You can take that little piece off. If it's not stuck, you can let it come off. I like to help, especially around the eyes and stuff, as once it's loose. If it's perfectly detached or ready, it's safe to remove. But what can happen, and this is why people again never do this, they say never remove shed because people do it wrong. If your bearded dragon, maybe this area has shed right here, but it's still attached here. People will start to remove the shed, and instead of just removing that shed area, they'll pull it like a strip, and they'll pull skin that's not ready, and then you damage the new scales. You can cause wounds. So you just need to know what you're doing. But yeah, so it's not like the whole body is typically ready to come off, especially when they're an adult. Typically, it's just an area, and removing that area is safe. But remember, that area is attached to either healthy skin or skin that's not ready to be shed. You're so welcome. Oh, thank you so much. Good morning. Good morning, April. Good to see you. My question today is, how long should my, with brumation and hibernations with tortoises, it's all over the place. They can do it. They don't always do it. Even with hibernation, especially as pets, they don't always do it. Sometimes they do it months. It's all in the genes of the animal, so they can. It's all over the place. There's nothing constant. Even in the wild, we've seen some tortoises go into their dens to start doing a hibernation, and the other tortoises stay out, and then they go in. But you would think then, okay, the first one went in, who would be the first one out? No, some random guy who went in the middle, he's the first one out, or the last guy in is the first one out. It's all over the place. I still don't know how or why. Again, it's just a genetics thing. Who knows? We have no idea. We have no idea. How long can my bearded dragon stop eating? It's getting winter time, but he hasn't gone winter. Well, so I talked about this before. But Thor there, weigh the dragon. Don't ever go by looks. Always weigh the dragon because they can carry fat in different areas. And as long as the weight is staying stable or slowly moving down, it's typically good. Realistically, if they shut down their metabolism 8 months to a year without eating, um, if their metabolism is going, probably, and let's assume they're basking and everything is fine, but they just say, hey, I'm going to starve and I'm not going to eat till I die, probably healthy for them to can go, not healthy, but they won't die like 2 to 3 months without eating. But since their metabolism is going, this is assuming they're coming from a healthy weight, they'll start losing weight and losing weight and losing weight. I'd also worry about dehydration at that time, though, since they get most of their water through their food, depending on how hot you keep the tank. It can be scary at brumation time because they can be getting ready to go in brumation, but don't do it yet. So they stop eating, but they're still out in the UVB and they're still basking, and they stop eating right before they go into brumation, and that's a scary time for a lot of people. Um, I always feel more comfortable when they go straight from basking and eating, they take a big crap, and then they go in their cave the next day and they don't come out of their cave for 8 months. That's great. But no, they stop eating, they haven't pooped yet, and they're just laying basking. Maybe they bask, maybe the UVB, but they go off food for a handful of weeks. Then they go in brumation. Brumation's all over the place with how they start it. So the biggest thing you can do is monitor the actual weight itself, make sure it's in the safe range, and then you'll know even when they're out, oh, they shut down their metabolism, but they're still out in the UVB. But they've shut down or slowed their metabolism to a crawl. That's really what you want to look for. My dragon is 17. Sweet. Awesome. She's only lived on bugs and never liked greens. I also supplement with grub pie. Well, so just getting other things. Berries. Yeah, I actually. Yeah. Depending on the frequency you feed, the type of bugs you feed, the type of exercise you feed. The reason why bugs are considered bad is because bearded dragons can get too fat, like everything. But a lot of bearded dragons have gone a lot of their life with bugs as pets because people are exercising them, people are feeding less fatty bugs, the variety bugs, and they're supplementing with other things. But if you have a bearded dragon that just sits and doesn't move all day, and you're feeding it, 10 cheeseburgers every day, you can get there. So it's big all over the place. It's really just controlling fat. That's honestly, it's controlling fat and gout. But with proper hydration, you can typically control gout even if you feed them bugs nonstop. Yeah, green iguana. So yeah, green iguana. If you can do squashes, that's it's really good to help bulk them up. I really like turnip greens. It seems to work really well with bulking them up. I know with the green iguanas I've worked with, and like with Link, I put his food in at 5 p.m. when I feed everyone. He doesn't eat it until the next morning. But if I put the food in the early morning, he doesn't eat it in the early morning. He'll wait like a 24 hours. So it's also if you can find and you can try different times. And this is also with all reptiles. There are certain times that your reptile may be hungry, and that's when he wants to be fed. Sometimes it's noon, sometimes it's 1 p.m., and that's when they want to eat for the day. So if you can find that, you can try feeding at different like half-hour intervals every different day and see, oh, this is the time of day where this reptile is hungry. Can make reptiles exhibit behavior. Yeah. My ball python drummer has a lot of stuck shed. I did soak him to hell. Is it okay if I help pull it off, or should I? No, I pull it off, and I've shown in other videos. You can remove it after the soaks for snakes. Put them in. Make sure the water stays lukewarm for about 45 minutes. You want to try to keep it shallow, the thing you're soaking in, with a lid, because otherwise, if it is too high, one, you don't want to drown the snake, but two, the snake, unfortunately, if it has shed by its head or things like that, will sometimes keep its head and a third of its body above water, leaning against it for most of the time. Although it's humid, then it doesn't soak. You soak it for at least 45 minutes, and then you can just peel it off with your hands. If you make a tube, you can let the snake just slide through the tube, and you just hold it gently, and the shed will just all be left behind, and the clean snake comes out. Really cool. Really easy. Sometimes they want to bite the crap out of you when that happens. Be careful. Hello, hi, many thanks for your. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm going to get ready to put Archimedes back and then bring out a snake. Does anyone have a question specifically? It doesn't have to be on a bearded dragon where maybe I need to point to someplace on Archimedes. Otherwise, in like a minute, I'm going to swap her out with something else. Any advice on hydration during brumation? I put water in there. No, they go in. They don't need hydration during brumation. They go in their cave and they're in their cave sleeping or chilling. They don't need to drink. They don't need to eat. If you put a little water thing in there, if they get really thirsty, they'll come out and drink, but they shouldn't need that. If they kicks in their body that they need food or they need water, then they're typically come out and they're out of brumation. How long can they go without food or water? Again, potentially longer, but Mongo brumates for 6 to 8 months. No food, no water. He loses about 30 grams in weight only. Where should you buy a leopard gecko? So if you're going for a morph or something, you can go to a show. Sometimes a reptile show will actually be cheaper than PetSmart or Petco, your pet store. But unless your pet store is a small mom and pop store that's actually breeding them themselves, your big chain stores, your PetSmart, your Petcos, they're buying bulk from your local breeder anyways. So what the main thing people typically are scared about pet stores, big chain pet stores, is the bad care the reptile can get while waiting to be adopted. But normally you get a 2 week or something, guaranteed live, or they'll pay the vet bills. So the pet store is not bad. If you go there and you look at the the tank and you see that your PetSmart typically cleans them and they look healthy and they're not covered in poop, you're normally fine. Any advice on sanitizing wood and decor? You can soak it in bleach water, and then you got to rinse it, and then you got to let it dry. You can bake it in an oven, but if you have big things, it's a problem. The easiest thing is to buy fake wood that looks real. It's expensive. It's like you can't win. You just can't win with real wood. You don't want mushrooms to start growing out the side of it. You can seal it after, but then is your reptile going to eat it? But using real wood, pain in the butt. That's why fake wood for enclosures is expensive. So what you do is you buy pressure treated 2x4s because they can be cheap, and make it look like a tree and you put it in your enclosure. Can we see? We can't see Mongo because Mongo is the only bearded dragon I have who's brumating right now. I finally made it live. Okay, I'm going to bring Archie back, and then I'm going to pause my chat just for me right here, and then we'll just continue. So I'm going to bring out a snake just so I can be handling a snake. Maybe the newest rescue if she's close to get. Otherwise, maybe Nagini, and then I'll just keep answering. Again, when I have the snake out, you can ask questions about the snakes. You can ask questions about anything, reptiles I have or reptiles you have. It doesn't have to be just on snakes. I know you're looking at me like, why the heck are you still out? I know. I'm sorry. What did I do? They made me. They kept asking me questions. It's not my fault. I don't want you to have to discipline me later. Ooh. Hi, baby. Oh, all right. So where did we leave off? And we'll have to catch up. I finally made it when it wasn't the end of a live stream. You did, Dow. Great job. Question. One of my ball pythons. Oh, look at this spaghetti piece of shred. Fascinating. One of my ball pythons, when awake, is always so alert and usually at the front of the cage waiting to strike. I do give him a small rat frozen thawed every 2 weeks. Any advice on how I can handle him? Yeah, you just have to handle. You got to go for it. One thing I would look at is how old is your ball python? Because the only time he is hiding during the day. If he's always at the front waiting to strike and you're giving him, you can try. He may be growing fast and he may be hungry more often. So every 2 weeks, you may want to bump that to a week and see if that feeding kind of lowers that aggression. So I know, like with my snakes, Ahsoka, the orange boa I have, she gets hungry and she starts getting aggressive. And I like to feed every 2 to 3 weeks for adult snakes. But for her, she is on the prowl, like she would strike against the glass and things. So her feeding is every week. When I switched to that, it calmed her down. She was just getting hungry. Her metabolism was so high, she needed to eat more. So you can try that. And sometimes they'll always be like that, but feeding them can sometimes calm them down. Thank you very much for answering my question. No problem. That's why I do these live streams, to answer questions, because it's too hard to do it with comments. Yay, okay. I'm going to get my beard to dry. Oh, that's fun. Hello from London, England. Hello. It won't be too much. A rat a week then. No, it won't be too much. It won't be as long as it's adequately sized. The other thing you could do if you really want to stay it on every 2 weeks is try feeding a larger rat. But I would try the 1 week because it's a little bit easier to change. See if it eats every week because it may not. And if it does, and that kind of stops that food, it's just getting hungry. And then if you want to feed every 2 weeks, which is okay, bump up the size of your rat. Yeah, yeah, and that growing a lot, they can get hungry. But not a lot of people talk about that. They don't understand the snake aggression. They don't understand how to read the snake because people will just say feed it every 2 weeks. Well, that doesn't work for every single snake. And feed it a rat this big. Again, I say 50% larger, 50% wider than the widest part of their body, which is where the stomach is. So you should be feeding it a good meal, unless it was sick or a rescue and you want to feed it something small to get its confidence up. But I feed Tetra a large rat. Sucker's like this big. People look at that. They're like, there's no way that snake's going to eat that. I feed Ahsoka a large rat. I feed Father Jimmy a large rat. If you go to any rat buying website, it's a large rat. Nagini gets a medium rat. But really, probably until I'm out of mediums, and then you can look at her size here, and then she'll be getting a large rat. What kind of heat lamp do you recommend? Maddie, it's really hard to recommend lights because there's anyone who's set up a tank, there's a million variables if you're trying to really get it done right. Height from basking platform, the amount of heat you're going for, the lizard that you're using, because is a heat light good for basking or is because it wants heat from the top, or is a heat mat good for basking because it wants heat from the bottom? So there's a lot. Typically, though, I like ceramic heat emitters because you can put them on a nice lamp dimmer and you can really control that heat. And as long as you get a UVB tube, I like Arcadia, I like the Vivarium electronic stuff for the reflectors and everything. Those UVB tubes will give UVB, obviously, but they'll also give UVA. Not all UVB bulbs give UVA. And that UVA is why people will use heat lights, because that's what's going to stimulate your dragon or your lizard wants to eat. So if you get a good UVB bulb that gives UVA and UVB, then you can control the heat easier with a heat source that doesn't produce light because you can put it on a dimmer. It's like a ceramic heat emitter is like an electric stove. So you can really control the amount of heat that it's outputting. And on some days where it's colder, you can crank them up. And on some days where it's warmer, you can crank it down with just a little slider. Maybe a medium. Yeah, I'll try whatever is the next size up. But if you wanted to try, if you don't, I order my rats in bulk. So sometimes before I want to try, if I want to see that it's a hunger thing, you can try feeding 2 of the current rat he's eating at the same time. Or like I said, space it out, feed him one, and then the next week, 7 days later, feed him the other one and see if he eats it. If he eats that other one 7 days later, he's been getting hungry. And a fed snake is always a calm snake. A fed snake that's not hungry, it's not thirsty, it will always act like this. Just be your best friend. Your snake is really crude. Oh, thanks, Cam. Nagini is just a... Dude, Bertha is trying to climb up the side of the ramp again. God help me, why? Oh, it's because tortoises are laying on the ramp. I'm just going to go pick her up, put her on the basking platform. There. I can't see you keep falling because everyone's laying on the ramp because they want to be half in the water, half out, and you're morbidly obese. Nagini is a normal ball python, but something about the normal, like with Burmese pythons and things like that, they just look more natural, more animalistic. Not that morphs don't look cool, because I think morphs look awesome, but something about this just looks natural. Or when you get to all those morphs, like, do I care that my snake is red? Like, I don't know if I want my snake to look like Kylo Ren's lightsaber. Like, I think I much rather want it to look like a snake. That's just me. I think, Quincy, if I did, sorry, you can just re-ask. If you guys asked a question and I didn't see it because of the chat, you can re-ask. I'm not mad. Just go ahead and retype. It's quite fine. It's weird. My girl BP is older and isn't as hungry. Well, as they get older, typically they slow down a lot. That's very normal. So Tetra, who's going on 20 years old, she does not eat every 3 weeks. Sometimes she'll eat once a month or once every 2 months. Whereas Nagini, who's, I don't even remember, maybe 5, 6 years old, she wants to eat every single feeding time. So the older they get, their growth slows down. Because their growth slows down, they no longer need those calories. They no longer need those calories. They no longer want those calories. They're no longer going to eat. Thanks for the advice. I'll try. Yeah, let me know. You can let me know next live stream in a month. Good morning, Reptile Rescue family. That's what I like to see. Look at that, representing. Because we are basically a big family, to be honest. My bearded dragon is watching too. Maddie, what kind of bearded dragon do you have? Is it normal? How old is it? Tell us about it. You can't just tell me your bearded dragon is here watching and not say anything. Yeah, I live stream once a month. Last Saturday in that month's calendar. I never owned a reptile. Can you recommend one for a first timer? I'm in a stay-at-home situation. Yeah, I can. I'm going to be very honest with you. Reptiles are typically chosen by the space that you can put its enclosure. The larger the reptile, typically the easier it is to train and everything like that, but the larger the enclosure. I'm going to tell you, for first-time reptile owners, I recommend 2 reptiles. A ball python, if you want a snake. This is the most friendliest snake in the world. I put Nagini around my neck like this, around my shoulders. I mow the lawn. I wash the dishes. I play board games on board game night. I do all my house chores. She just hangs out, puts her head here, watches what I do. She'll never choke me to death. It's fine. She'll never bite me. Good to go. But it's a snake. You have to buy frozen rats. Get a little chest freezer if you want to buy them in bulk for it, just a personal freezer, or not. If you want a lizard, buy a Savannah monitor. They are amazing. But if you get a Savannah monitor, you're going to need at least 6 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet for the enclosure. But you'll get a pet like Simba. You can train it to be like a dog. You can teach it its name. You can teach it tricks. You can teach it commands. More basic than a dog, but you can do it. They can sleep in your bed. They'll be your buddy. But you have to feed it primarily bugs. Okay? So now, you really want to have a roach colony. Okay? I mean, you could have a cricket colony. Crickets are messy. They smell. Roaches don't. Easier things like that. Very easy to do a roach colony. Savannah monitors, very cheap. If you want something that eats greens, then you go the bearded dragon route. People used to say, what about chameleons? Chameleons are cool. They don't eat often, a couple bugs, but they're not super social. You can socialize them more, but it's a lot less return. So if it was me, Savannah monitor would be my number 1 lizard. Ball python would be my number 1 snake. A bearded dragon would be my number 2 lizard. Normal and it is great. Okay, cool. Her name is Delta. Oh, awesome. She's 3 years old. Sweet. Awesome. Well, looks like she's off to a good start then if she's getting a 3. I have an entire living room. Then you want a Savannah monitor. If you get a female Savannah monitor, they get about as big as a male bearded dragon. It will climb up you. You can teach it to climb up your jeans, up your shirt, sit on your shoulder like a dire wolf pelt. They're just good buddies. You've seen this videos of me and Simba. Some other I don't see them in the chat right now, people, but a lot of people on my Instagram have messaged me. They got Savannah monitors simply because of seeing Simba in their videos, and their Savannah monitors, watching my advice, have become just like Simba, just good buddies, just good buddies. No, she won't. Snakes, they do not do what they do in movies. They don't just wrap around your neck and try to kill you for absolutely no reason. It just doesn't happen. Remember, ball pythons, especially in the UK over the seas, or if you happen to be over there in England and everything, they were called royal pythons, and they still are because they were worn by royalty as necklaces, as belts, live snakes. Um, Especially when they would get different morphs, they were a piece of jewelry. Now you have live jewelry that's moving, right? Think about this: if you got bright red or orange or rainbowish color, right? Like you were like, look at my royal python. That's why they're called royal pythons. Is it better to hold the ball python in the early morning or at night? I honestly, I hold them whenever I want to. Throughout the day, at night. Sometimes they're up late with me. They do normally, their normal instinct is to be more active at night, a ball python. That's why they have those heat pits on their mouth. They hunt at night. They can see in the infrared spectrum. So they have built in night vision. Um, and so that's when they normally would be more active. I do feed my ball pythons and all my snakes around 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. That's me, because it's just getting closer to when they would more naturally hunt. But you can feed them in the morning as well. It's all over. My snakes, they nap, they are awake, they do whatever the heck they want. Good morning, Rachel. Good morning. Or should we call you Rachel? I just love how you were breaking this down. So helpful. First reptile, definitely on my mind. Oh, you're welcome. I'm always there to give advice on first reptiles. Anything you do for a first reptile, if you get a baby though, start it. A reptile should have 2 tanks its lifetime. A tank that is good size for when it's a baby that it can stay into for a good year or two, and then move to its permanent enclosure. If you're really going to make a grand permanent enclosure, you can put 3 tanks, and you can kind of have an in between, but really 2 tanks is what you want. For a reptile that gets big, excuse me. For a reptile like a bearded dragon, or a ball python, it could stay in its permanent enclosure its whole life. But Simba, when he was as big as my finger, I'm not going to put him in a 6-foot enclosure. Too big, too overwhelming for him. He's not going to like it. Think of like a human baby. You don't put a newborn infant in a king size bed, right? You keep them in the crib, and then the bassinet really, and then the bassinet turns into a crib. Then the crib turns into a twin size bed, and then possibly a twin size bed until he moves out or she, and then they get a king or queen. It's the same thing for the reptile, but you don't need as many steps. Just like your kid can go from a bassinet to a crib to a king size bed, doesn't need the twin. But it's really good for a reptile that does get big. They all start small to be in an enclosure so it doesn't get overwhelmed. It doesn't not eat because it's too overwhelmed or too stressed. It's too far. It's too scary to walk from the hide 6 feet away to the water dish and where you feed it. It doesn't want to do that because it feels vulnerable making that trek. Well, now it's in everything close. It can come out. It can dip its head out. It can eat. And if it gets scared, it knows it takes 1 second to get back to the hide. That's how you start. You can watch my videos of Simba when he was younger. You'll see I had him in, I think, a 3 foot by 2 by 18 enclosure. And I kept him in that until I went to the 6 foot. And there's no time span on when to move it. It's by growth. They can grow a little bit faster. They can grow a little bit slower. My other bearded dragon. Yeah, bearded dragons. They just can die. They can just die. They could have bad genetics. They could get sick. It can just happen. So don't feel good. Oh my God, living jewelry. Yeah, that's why they're called royal pythons. I guess I've never heard of a ball python killing someone. I mean, it's not impossible to say. If I was like a weak kid and it wrapped around my neck, I guess there's a possibility. Maybe bit someone in the eyeball, and ripped out its eye. I mean, I assume anything could potentially accidentally kill something. Like maybe I had like some TNT and it was just at like a simple press button, and I was like finishing wiring it, and the ball python slid across the button, detonating the TNT that was surrounding me. Technically, that would be the ball python that killed me. People gave a smiley face. People thought that was funny. Megan says good morning too. Yes, excellent. I know I'm saying that a lot, but I missed the whole thing last time. That's okay. The live streams are good. If you can ask, even if people asked it last live stream, therefore you in here live to ask those questions. All I ask for in return is if you're watching the live stream, you leave a like. That way it gets promoted in any reptile live streams. Look how quick and simple that is. Hugs, Maddie. She lost a fingernail. Yeah, that's great. Oh, mine isn't getting close to my eye. Question about brumation. Should you keep their lights off or stick to lights to their old schedule? Yeah, good question, good question, good question. So because I heat with a ceramic heat emitter, I lower the ceramic heat emitter, I turn off their UVB light when they're brumating. That allows because they still have light from the tank, but what that allows is it allows your reptile to brumate anywhere in its enclosure, not just in the dark cave. So Mongo, I'll see him one day sleeping on the floor, the other day he's sleeping on the side. You'll know if they're awake. They'll be awake, they'll be looking at you, they may be at the basking platform. But so Mongo doesn't have to jam his fat body into his cage and be curled to brumate. He can just lay out, stretches out. One day his head's facing that way, the next morning his head's facing that way. It gives them all the options. Because they still will simulate a day and night cycle from just general daylight entering the room, which is fine. With Clementine and Phoenix, because they live together, if they don't brumate at the same time, I have to leave the light on. And so Clementine goes and brumates in the cave. Just what happens. But that's a very good question. She lost her fingernail in the last home. She's arrested. Yeah, they can. Their nails can sometimes get pulled out, stuck shed, getting caught on something when they're babies. It happens. They've even. God, I'm going to get into the story now because sometimes I've seen bearded dragons bite their own fingers off going for a bug, and the bug goes over their finger. Bearded dragons have razor blade teeth. Okay, their teeth their jawbone teeth are one big half U, right? Not individual teeth like ours. It is one like a shark. When you see the shark like lip with the teeth sticking out, think of that. And these little razor blades are sticking out of it. So these things will slice you. Unlike most monitor lizards, where their teeth are a little bit more like us, like they could bite you and puncture you, but if you slide your finger across your teeth, you're not slicing it open. Bearded dragons are slicers, man. So they will nip. If they nip you, they will cut into you. They will slice you. And I've seen them bite their own fingers off on accident. God, think about that. You're just eating. Sometimes you bite your tongue when you eat or talk. Think about it if you actually bite it and you just slice that sucker off. Double Dragon Hotel with $5 more. I can't even. Guys, as you know, all donations go to the reptiles. Any money I make off of YouTube views or on Patreon, all that money goes into the reptiles. It's none of that gets spent on me on anything. It all goes to the reptiles. I have monitors on the breakers that the reptiles are on that monitors how much electricity the reptiles are actually using, reptile food, all of that. So thank you so much. $1 helps. $5 million would help as well. But yeah, every little bit, it actually goes so far, to be honest with you. When it comes to lighting, there's so many right or wrong answers. Yeah, Ashlyn, there's not really, unfortunately. What it is there's so many wrong answers. And that's because the right answer is not so cut and dry, but there's typically really one right answer, the best way to do it. And then there's some that kind of get there, but if it's half right, I count it as wrong. I will say this: there is no way, 0.0, to get UVB lighting correctly without a solar meter to measure your UVB and your UVA output. There is no way. You can look at the side of the box and it says use a 12% tube here, use a 14% tube here. First of all, that's not even accurate, because if you're putting a light in, it also matters what kind of reflector you're using. Is this a 1.5 reflector? Is this a 2 times reflector? Is this a 3 times reflector? Did you accidentally touch the reflector with your thumb and now you've smudged it with oil and it's not reflecting as much? Was the reflector installed upside down by the company so it is not reflecting UVB? And you have to pull the shiny sheet out and flip it, right? Like, think aluminum foil. One side very shiny, one side a little bit duller, right? Same thing with reflectors, but maybe you don't know that because you assume that it's working. You also assume, because of batch quality control, that UVB lights are working correctly, brand new out of the box. Well, I've shown that brand new out of the box, some produce little to no UVB because they were defective, but how do you know? I've shown some that overproduce UVB. If you don't want to throw $200 in for a solar meter, which is the only way to do UVB, UVA correctly, you can at least know two things. You can buy 2 test cards from Amazon. One that will show you UVB. You're supposed to use it when you go outside in the sun too. And one that will look for UVC. UVC is the UV spectrum that sterilizes things, but it's very harmful to reptiles and it would hurt their eyes. It can make them go blind. And humans too. So you can test that with that card. Is it doing UVC? Yes or no? You can test UVB is coming out with that card. You don't know the exact amount, which is unfortunate. So for every reptile, there is this index known as the Ferguson index or Ferguson zones. And it actually tells you the number, the strength in a numeric number of the exact amount of UVB and UVA your reptile should be getting. There is no way to know that without a meter underneath your light that then gives you a number readout of what your bulb is doing. And then you can raise or lower basking platforms. You could raise or lower lights. You could swap your reflector. You could change the type of bulb you're using. It's the only way to do it 100% right. But a meter's $200. But if some of the bulbs are $30 each and they tell you to replace them every 6 months when you don't need to, you can hit $200 very quick within 2 years. You can hit it very quick within, and even sooner depending on how many reptiles you have or how many bulbs you're using, and even more if you're using a 4-foot bulb or something like that for a long enclosure. So with my Arcadia bulbs, years, I think 3 years, they've maybe lost 5% power, still within that Ferguson zone index, which is really important. And there's also, if you have many reptiles, you may have a reptile that requires a very strong Ferguson zone. And as that bulb gets weak, it's too weak for that reptile, but you can actually use that bulb for a reptile that is in a lesser zone. So that's what I do. My bulbs are, my Savannah monitor, his bulb is too weak, but it's weak enough to put it in the sweet spot for the bearded dragon. So I don't throw that bulb away. I just say for bearded dragon. Let me go up and chat so I don't miss anything. And again, guys, if I miss you, please, you can retype your question. There's no hate here. No one will be mad. I think what Guy is saying is the python knows not to eat such how the individual who gives it food. Actually, pythons are pretty smart too. Like, this python knows it has no chance of eating me. Normally, your reptiles don't want to pick a fight with something they know they can't eat. They're not going to kill it just to kill it. They're going to kill something to try to eat. So if they're smart, they're going to say no way. The snakes, pet snakes, they don't eat humans. You would have to get such a huge snake, huge reticulated python, because snakes have been known to eat human, huge reticulated python. And then typically in the wild, that means it hasn't had food for a while and it's super hungry, and then it eats somebody. Thanks, Double Dragon. I really appreciate that. Is it true that bearded dragons can change gender? No. Your electric bill, my electric bill is very hard stopping. More so in the summer because obviously these generate a lot of heat and I need to counter that with AC or it would get too hard. In the winter, it's not an offset, but because you never spend as much in natural gas to heat. Natural gas, very efficient furnace to run, thank God. I don't have an electric furnace. That would kill me. The amount of electricity an electric furnace would do to try to keep a house hot is insane. Natural gas, 99% efficient. Furnace, gorgeous. Heating furnaces, they're like 40% efficient. My God. But so already heating is cheaper in the winter, but then your tanks are giving off heat that my furnace barely runs. It's great. But it doesn't offset the cost, obviously. The electricity is way more expensive. You have a nice smile. Sorry, I just had to say it. Nothing to do with reptiles. I can tell you're very passionate and just to know it. And well, okay, thank you. That's something, and sometimes maybe I go on tangents, but I really, for doll addict, now that you bring that up, I'm not giving you guys information from YouTube or from Google or just someone's friend from a friend told me this. I go by things that I have seen either with my own reptile and not just one time. If I did see something one time, I'll say, I saw them do this one time. Any type of study that the focus group was a sample size of one would be instantly thrown out. That's one. So when I see these things of this is a good, or Savannah monitors are not good because I got a Savannah monitor one time and that one I got was very wild. So never get a Savannah monitor. You see that all the time. What an idiotic study. Or I got a Tegu one time and it was so peaceful and it was so calm. Get a Tegu. What? Okay, I got a Savannah monitor that was calm. I've seen videos of a Savannah monitor that was wild. I mean, what are the variables as well? How old were both things? Where did you get them? So you can't give sample sizes of one and try to base any type of knowledge article on that. What I can say is I didn't have good luck with creature A because I got one of them and it was not good, and that was my one experience. But that then they should follow it by saying, but that one experience is nowhere near enough data to base any type of conclusion off of. But you don't see that. You see people go on there, and this is why I don't do this. Top 5 best pet reptiles. Have I owned them? No. And even if you owned them, how many of them have you owned or worked with? Well, I had one of each reptile. And so that's really not a top 5 list. You can say what your experience was with them, but you can't just judge all of them. So whenever you see, and then the worst part is when they don't even have that reptile and they're not even holding it in front of you and be like, yes, I can tell you, I've had hundreds of ball pythons over the years. Not me, I've had hundreds of ball pythons over the years, and here's my experience with hundreds of them. That's good information right there. Not I've owned one ball python and it was bad. Ball pythons are horrible. That's bad information. I've owned one ball python and it was good. Ball pythons are good. That's unfortunately also bad information. But what's worse information is if I go google.com, are ball pythons good pets? I read off Google that ball pythons are good pets for this article I happen to click on. So that's number one pet snake on my list. That's horrible. So when you see these top 10, these top 5, they just want to get views. Okay, I recommend Savannah monitors because I've personally owned more than one. I've personally worked with more than one. My focus study group for Savannah monitors as pets is probably about 250. That's a good study group. And I would say 5 have been a little wild and they were harder to tame down. That's really good odds. But then there was also circumstances with those. So, bearded dragons typically people have owned a lot. Turtles, snakes. But don't get in there and say like, oh yeah, this super rare monitor is really good, because you don't know. You really don't know. But you're making a click video, and I get it. Don't hate the player, hate the game. You need views to make money. You need money. That's why you're doing it. There's another tangent. My solar meter is saving more money. Yeah, your solar meter, I push it like crazy. I have a link to one in my comments or my descriptions. It will save you money. It is $200, so there's an upfront cost. It will save you money very quickly. Within a year, if you have 3 bulbs that you were going to replace every 6 months, and within 3 years at the longest, if you've got one bulb you were going to replace every 6 months, that's really quick turnaround. But forget saving money. That makes your reptile have the most accurate, healthy life it can have. That should be why you're doing it, not just to save money. Dial addict guy is really modest and honest. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have the experience and knowledge. Oh, I just said that. Yeah, I try. I don't know about everything, right? There's bajillions of reptiles. There's bajillions. That's a custom word, as you know. It's not real. But everyone knows that he can BS you an answer. Thank you. Thank you. It's good to have friends like you and not enemies. Thank you. Dialect challenge. Let's see if our comments can make animal one go. Oh, for God's sakes, please. I'm single. I enjoy long walks on the beach, going to movies. I love making dinner. I love doing housework. Thank you. I'll make a new email. Who wants to date animal1guy.com. Thank you. I've been keeping snakes a year. I have a ball python, a corn snake, and a hognose snake. And believe it or not, my ball python was the least big. Ball pythons are amazing. They're right on her head. I recommend it. Like, they are such a good first reptile. It's incredible. When they're older, eat once a month, poop once a month. I mean, like, you can't go wrong. Super friendly. The care is so much easier. It's out of control. But you want to go into Walmart with a ball python when the weather's nice? Just throw it around your neck. Do what you want to do. Don't drive with it around your neck. It'll try to go on your seat and everything. Put it in a small little Tupperware. Be done. I accept a challenge. My guy Tort wags this, for God's sakes, people. Hello, hi, Bobby. And people are already laughing. Agreed. I first got caught on this channel because you're passionate. Well, thank you. Got a migraine, saw you, had to pop in. Well, thank you for popping in. I mean, during incubation. Bobby, love it. Very same. I'm trying to catch up here. Sometimes I get on rants and I get behind, but I'm trying to go through these comments. Yes, get them. People are so fake. Yep. Oh, God. Massimo Barca says, are blackthroats harder to care for than Savannah monitors? Okay. So the only care differential, normally when you get to monitors, and I don't think any of them are harder to care for than the other ones, but there's differences in the care. And the main difference is size. So you need to have size of the enclosure and diet. So normally that will bring cost into it, but unlike other channels, and I'm sorry, Clint's Reptiles, I'm just going to put you on blast. I don't like that you rate things based on cost, because cost is relative. What's expensive to me is maybe not expensive to a millionaire, it's not expensive to a poor person. So black throat monitors typically will get larger than Savannah monitors. Not always. You can get 5-foot Savannah monitors, very rare, and you can get shorter black throats. There's a good possibility too sometimes that a male Savannah a large male Savannah could be larger than a smaller and female black throat. But you typically want the black throat enclosure to be much bigger. You have a lizard, and if you get a black throat male, that can potentially, even though extreme, reach 8 feet. Pretty rare. Typically, you're looking at about 6.5, 7 feet. Diets. That's the other thing. Savannahs will eat primarily bugs. Now, this could be easier or harder for you. If you can make a dubia colony, feeding a Savannah is cheap and easy. Feeding a black throat, not as hard. Eats meat. You go to the store, you buy a family pack of chicken breast when it's on sale, and you freeze it, and you take out 1 breast or 2 breasts at a time. That's not hard. Boneless, skinless. Chop it up, chop it up, feed it. You don't need to feed rats. You don't need to feed this. When you see fish is on sale, buy a piece of fish. I buy a lot of my meats on sale or on clearance, and I put them in the freezer. Set. Cheap. You can get at least here a family pack of chicken breast when it's on sale. 99 cents a pound. Drumsticks, 99 cents a pound. When they're growing, you can. Once that thing can eat a whole drumstick, you just hold it there and you let it suck it down, and that's its meal for 4 days. It's beautiful. So neither is harder, they're just different. And then it's up to the person to decide, well, yeah, I want a dubia colony. If you don't want to have a roach colony, feeding a savanna monitor is going to be a pain because you're going to be going often to buy bugs. It'll be more expensive. If you don't have the size for a black throat, you don't have the size. Also, black throats take gigantic human-sized male poops. You can potty train them to poop in their water, but then you're going to clean water. Monitor lizards, by the way, guys, just so you know, I don't know if I said this, super easy to potty train. Super easy. You can let them roam your house. They'll go to their toilet. You can teach them actually to poop in your toilet. That's a little bit harder, though. You got to make a ramp system and have it there, or you could just put a water bowl tub down that they know to poop in. That's easier. But it has to be the size of the reptile. Black throat is big. Poop tub has to be tib. Tib, big. The heck, tib. I watch top fives, drives me nuts. Yeah, the top fives are always fake. They're just fake. I mean, look, there are people who could say top five snakes because they've owned hundreds and hundreds of snakes, or someone who's worked at a zoo and dealt with hundreds and hundreds. There's differences. But a lot of times these personal people who do it, it's just full of Google information, which unfortunately it's been getting better, but Google information was very bad for reptiles for a long time. The information was very old, very old. Alexis, you're late. You're late, and I'm getting ready to wrap this up in about 20 minutes. I've already gone over, but I've just been having such a great time with you guys that we just let it fly. You're very natural, but also funny to listen to. Thank you. I ended up realizing bearded dragons worked for me because I didn't like bugs, and my bearded dragon would only eat if I hand fed him. So I've got my HP family, hairy head dragon. Do you think reptiles can come with you, place? Maddie, explain. Do you think reptiles can come with you, place? What that means? I'm going to visit my local rescue today and take them extra greens. I ran into the guy on Thursday, and he said he was up to 10. Tortoises and turtles are the number one thing people get rid of. Turtles live a long life. They need a tank. They need water. You have to have good filtration or they smell. Tortoises, and turtles live forever, 30, 40 years. Good God. Tortoises, even longer, some of them, especially smaller tortoises, can live 100 plus years. And they can get big. If you want a tortoise as a pet, it's really good. Get a cherry, get a Russian, get a Herman's, Egyptian. You can get smart tortoises that stay small. Yes, please take a picture, Rachel, and post in Discord. Okay, if you guys don't know, if you donate to me on Patreon, even $1, you will come into the Discord. If you donate, if you get to a point where you've donated $10, you can be in the Discord forever. We chat, we hang out. It's such a good group of people in the Reptile Discord. I'm in there every single day. You have live DMs straight to me. Other people are in there and help. We don't only talk about reptiles, we also just hang out, but you do get sweet content from me, like live Discord videos of, hey, I'm going to feed the reptile, or hey, this reptile has stuck shed. And I'm not going to turn it into a video. I'm just going to go live on Discord and show it off. That's the number one thing I do for the Patreon people. It's so good that I get to do that. It's awesome. Voice chat, video chat. You just see me hanging out sometimes outside with my lizards, going for a walk with my snakes. It's a fun environment, playing some board games. We do it all. Places I meant like pet stores, going out and running errands. I have brought my reptiles to pet stores. I've brought my reptiles to Walmart. I brought my reptiles to Salvation Army, but I was doing that specifically to bring them there and back. All day would probably be too long, a little too stressful for them, especially since when you're driving, you should always secure the reptile in a type of tub with a lid. If it's a lizard that can't climb, it can be open, but sometimes the drive can be a little overstimulating if it's not used to it. Just because you don't want the snake getting out and crawling and getting under your seat or something like that. You want to make sure it's contained. Beardies can be stubborn. Beardies can be known to be very stubborn. Is it true that big chain stores get some of their reptiles? Yes. But normally the chain pet store isn't buying straight from the wild caught. We don't like bearded dragons in the U.S. are not wild caught. They're not even imported anymore. They're all bred locally. But a lot of the times, monitor lizards can be wild caught. That's not bad. But then they send them over. Someone else will buy it, someone local, and then he'll sell to the pet store. And small pet stores, not just big chains. Because a lot of times small chain pet stores will go to a reptile show and the guy there buys and imports. Don't give beardies a water bowl, they will dry. No. They can have a water bowl, but just like a human, sometimes people will see their reptile drinking, and this isn't just beardies. Well, beardies are more susceptible to this because they're small. When they drink, they will suck in all that water and then they will put their head up and then they're actually swallowing it slowly. You pick it up, forcing it to open its windpipe with all that water in its mouth, and all that water goes down its throat. And then the problem is beardies, because they don't have diaphragm muscles around in front of their lungs, they cannot cough like we do. So they cannot get that. The only way beardies can get water out of their mouth is if they have air in their lungs as well, out of their lungs, is they try to blow out that air as hard as possible to push the water out. It doesn't always work. You got to tip them upside down. You got to drain them. If you let them drink and then let them swallow, which can be a minute or two process after they've gulped all this water down and let it settle in their stomach, it's fine to give them baths or a water bowl. On their own, they'll be fine. It's that human, but just like a human, if I've got my mouth full of water and someone were to pick me up or squeeze my stomach, I could choke, I could spit it out, I could go down the wrong pipe. That's what can happen. I figured you had a channel called Maddie's Wildlife because that's your name in here. I took one of my beardies into Walmart. Yeah, it happens. Midnight Dragon says hi, hello. You did, hi. I was joking. Oh, you made a video saying people. Well, yes. So I made that video, and just like a newspaper or an internet article, people only read the headline. They never read the body and what's actually going on. So people are like, oh my God, bearded dragon will die if it's in a bath. They'll choke. How do they survive? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, if you watch the whole video, I made a long video, then I made a short. I made the short link to the long video. People clueless. I mean, what do you do? Let me put Nagini away, and then maybe we'll get Simba out for this last 15-20 minutes with you guys, and then we'll just continue. Simba, buddy, Truman, wake up! Surprise party, Simba. Hello. Hi. Good morning. Hi. Come on. Come over here. Come on. Hi, Simba. Wake up. Yeah, wake up. Come on. Let's go. Let's get moving more than 1 mile per hour. I gotta wrap this up. Come on. What are we doing here? You have to be in the farthest back corner of your tank known to mankind. Come on, come on. Jesus, a one-legged old man moves faster than you. Let's go. This is when you try to fit a square peg in a round hole. Hi, how are we doing? Yes. Okay, we're walking in slow motion. Next foot. Just get close enough so I can snatch you. There we go. I mean, could we have done that any slower? Hi, good morning. It's about to be 11 a.m., bro. Okay, let's see here. I may have missed some stuff. I know, Simba. I know you're very tired. You had a hard day. You've been doing nothing but sleeping. Let's see here. I've been nervous to bring my reptiles to the store. Yeah, I really only bring the snakes because they can wrap around your neck and stay there. Okay. Hi, buddy. Oh, I know. Now you're exhaling all that air at least. It's funny. I don't know tub and a leash. Do you know anything about crested gecko? Yeah, Ryan, I do know about crested geckos. Are you thinking about getting one or some or have some? Give me a question. What do you want to know? I relate, Simba. Bye. Gotta go. See you later, Midnight Dragon. Bye. Thanks for stopping by. Please like the stream, guys. If you're in here and you didn't leave a like, please like the stream. Anyone? Oh, you have crested gecko. Okay, sweet. Cool. I do like geckos that can climb like they do and have that look. They almost remind me of the look of a Cuban false chameleon. I love Cuban false chameleons, but they're like mini alligator heads. They just don't live as long, Cuban false chameleons, which I wish they did. Hell Trauma 9.99 with the little E symbol. Thank you so much. Let's read this donation. I have read that the latest research for bearded dragon recommends you put a grow light like the Arcadia Jungle Dawn in for full spectrum lighting as well as UV, even for non-bear. Yeah. Okay, good question. So, I use the Arcadia tube lights for all my reptiles for UVB and UVA. What we're really seeing is I don't think you need to use a grow light specifically for non-bioactive. I think their normal bulbs are just fine. I've had bearded dragons live into their late teens with those bulbs. No health problems, no MBD, no gout. So I don't know what we're looking at. I do think that you want a good quality UVB bulb because you want the UVB to be good. But I think as long as you have a good reptile bulb and you measure it correctly, getting the right amount of UVB and UVA is not hard. I don't think it needs to come from the same bulb, to be clear. You can do a UVB bulb that produces little to no UVA and do a basking bulb that produces the UVA you need. I've had those go a long time as well, so I wouldn't worry about that. I think what we're seeing, though, is we are seeing them. How do I want to use this? We're maybe seeing them the setup be easier when you have one bulb being able to do, majority of the things, less real estate needed up top, less wires to run. So I think that's what people are also walking into. Ryan Cruz, how do you keep them moist for the most part of the day? I work a lot and I feel he might be dry, but humidity isn't 90%. I mean, you normally are fine with crested geckos. You normally have them in bioactive, right? And a little bit of a taller tank, and you've got dirt in there. So even when you mist, even if you're hand misting and you don't have it on an automatic mister or fogger, your environment really holds on to that humidity. It soaks in the dirt, it slowly evaporates out. The plants are there, they add humidity. And also, though, it's common, 99% humidity, if it's that all the time, I figure it's a little bit too high. But it's common at some points, even in the wild, where there are points during the day where the humidity is a little bit lower, and then typically the humidity goes up at night. So you should be fine. The only thing you would see is if you need to mist it more than once a day. If you live in a super dry environment, so I know what you smell. If you live in a super dry environment, then you can add a fogger, you can get a Mist King set, something like that. So there are, that has a reservoir tank that you just fill with water. You can have them turn on and off with a hydrometer that's measuring the humidity, and when the humidity dips between so low it turns on, or you can get it on a timer with a schedule. Um, you know, hiss, typo. Yes, exactly. Hi, Simba. So cute and snuggly. So here's the deal. Simba is so cute and snuggly every single day. Okay, I know. They said just like today. I know. I love you. I love you. I know. I love you. Come here. Lay down. There you go. You're still a little bit tired. You're a good boy, aren't you? Yes. I know. Simba is. He's my favorite. What do you think of the killing of the green iguanas in Florida? They are around. Yeah. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. It has to be done, and it sucks. They're not native there. They're invasive there. They're they're killing natural wildlife. They're killing natural species. They're killing plants. They're killing natural birds. It's out of control, unfortunately, um, and it's just destroying Florida's natural wildlife. And invasive species, we just can't have that happen. I don't want to see any animal just killed, but it's out of control there. Unfortunately, I mean, I've seen them. I have friends and family that live in Florida. I've seen them just run across fields, hundreds of them, just sprinting across fields. We see them fall out of the trees when a cold snap happens, and they go get paralyzed, and hundreds fall out of these trees. And they're going up in these trees, and they're killing baby birds. They're killing eggs. They're killing the trees. You can't relocate all of that. It's an invasive species for that area that unfortunately spread like candy. Simba is very spoiled. Simba knows because when he sleeps in my bed, he gets his own blanket, he gets his own multiple pillows, and he's 3.5 feet, and he gets 80% of my queen size bed. And I sleep on the side to not disturb him. All right, I'm going to be looking at wrapping this up in like the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes maximum. So if you have any questions, please ask them now. If you asked a question, I didn't see it, I'm sorry, just ask it again. It's fine. Just type it in. If you haven't liked the stream, please like the stream. Liking videos, guys, is one of the best ways to get the videos liked. Liking them and then leaving comments. Simba love his ball. Iguana hers. Yeah. How do you clip beard? Maddie, I have really detailed videos on how to do bearded dragon nails. One of the best things you can use, though, is like a pet Dremel instead of clipping them. That's really the best way to do it. And I have a very detailed with pictures that I draw on, show where the nail bed goes, the blood supply. It's really good. Yes, it was out of control. Do you approve of grow tents for savanna monitors? Okay. First of all, here's what I love, by the way, holding Simba. Right underneath my hand is Simba's heart. And because he's smushed on me, I can feel his heart beat and push against my hand every beat that it does. And I just love when he does that. Do I approve of using grow tents? I've seen people use tents for them. Honestly, if you can have the lighting and the temperatures be accurate, Does it matter if they're in a PVC enclosure, a wood enclosure, a glass enclosure, a grow tent? To each his own. Actually, I have my bearded dragon with me right now. Oh, nice, nice, nice. A grow tent may be harder to put on top of a table and be elevated, but you know that's what everyone's doing. Simba, it's going too far. You're going to get off camera. Get back here with this. I'll bring it to you. There. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I come to hang out and give you likes. Thanks, Bobby. I appreciate it. The likes help so much. Lizzie is so big. Yeah, okay. So, spoiler alert, I was going to bring Smog out. And when I went there, he was just taking a huge crap. And then he's in his crap water because he's potty trained. So I've got to wash him and wash his water. And I wasn't about to, that's going to take a good 15, 20 minutes. But of course, he had to be taking his nice morning crap. Bruno and friends. Hey, can we be Bruno? I'm friends with all my subscribers, bro. Just gave you a like. Wasn't hard at all. Just press the thumbs up. Yeah, that's true. The likes help so much. On any video you watch of mine, YouTube Shorts, please leave a like. They help promote it. Can we be friends with my channel? It's Bruno Mars and Friends. It's Bruno Mars and Friends. Just Bruno. Guys, any last questions before I head out? We've gone this. You guys have been a great audience today. This has gone almost 50 minutes longer than scheduled for, so I have to get moving. I know, Simba. No last questions. We'll give it a second. Someone may be typing it. Any question you thought? Do you have a wish list of reptiles you want to keep? Do you prefer spray? No, Maddie, you don't really need spray shed helper. Typically, just soaks are good enough. Spray shed helper is really, really in an extreme situation. Do you have a wish list of reptiles? Not really, Aiden. To be honest, I mean, I'm in a good place for what I have. There's nothing I really. I mean, if I could get like a marine iguana, some type of one of the smarter iguanas, a Cuban rock iguana, probably the smartest. Yeah, maybe or a rhino. Like that would be something. They're not expensive, $300-400, but space, time, money. It's hard when you're rescuing reptiles when you're just one man. That then you want to bring on other reptiles as your pets. It gets too difficult. Also, they live a long time. 60, 70 years. Some of these iguanas, like that's a big commitment for when you're doing all this craziness going on. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. You're welcome. Bruno has a question. All right, Bruno. Give Simba a hug for me. Oh, absolutely. Festus has not been out all day. As I looked and he came out. Oh, thanks. That's nice. Have a great day. Thank you. He's just sweet. What do you recommend the cage size? So, bearded dragons, honestly, I recommend like a 3 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot. It's a good cage. 50-gallon breeder. These are not super active creatures in the wild, especially if you can take your bearded dragon out and let them get some exercise around your house, things like that. They get plenty of exercise. They can live forever. They can live 20 years in that tank. If it's bigger and you want to do a 4 by 2 by 2, you can do it. But those are the sizes maximum I recommend. Do you find it hard to go on vacation? It's horrible to go on vacation because I don't have reliable people that can take care of them. But luckily, being reptiles, they all don't need immediate care right away. So if I have to dip for a weekend, I can typically make preparations, time my feedings, that way I know they're not going to crap while I'm not here. No one has to deal with it. It would have to be a vacation I'm driving to, but then yes, you could. All right, guys, I'm going to take off. Thank you so much for liking the stream. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, everyone who donated during the stream. Thank you for everyone who donates to me on Patreon. Like I said, $1 a month. All goes to the. When I first got my Savannah monitor, I took his cage camping. Yeah, it can happen. Thank you so much for what you do. You've helped me a lot in improving my Savannah monitor on recording. Oh, awesome. I got to know how to teach Simba to play tug of war. Simba is just inquisitive. So we started. You can teach monitor lizards like Simba. He knows his name. I'm currently teaching him tricks that he's knowing by name. Every night we're doing his training, and he's really good on them. These monitor lizards are really smart. Yeah, have a great day. Very good, very good. How did I what? Just kidding. I know that you have. Yeah, I have to. Just kidding. I'll see you guys in a month. Last Saturday of every month. Last Saturday of every month. Thank you for advice. Great video. You're welcome. Take care, everybody. Okay, Simba, do you want to say goodbye? Do you want to wave goodbye? Move this. Come here. You want to wave goodbye to everyone? Are you going to wave goodbye? Good wave. Good wave. Good wave. Very good. Very good. Wave it off. Wave it off. Wave it off. Wave it off. Bye, guys. Take care.